Hello there. For this tasting, I'm still at Chateau Laffitte Carcasset in St Estephe, tasting my way through their wines from the 2016 through to the 2023. At this stage, I've reached the 2020. So 2020 was a lovely, ripe, fresh vintage that ended the decade on a bit of a high. This particular wine is 55% Cabernet Sauvignon with 44% of Merlot and 3% of Cabernet Franc in its blend. Looking at it, the colour is medium to deep, but it's quite a dark ruby. I can see through it fairly well. There are hints of purple in the colour, but it's much more on a dark ruby end of the spectrum. The wine has 13% alcohol. Doesn't seem too inclined to be throwing tears on the side of the glass there. So let's see what we make of the aromas, shall we? The aromas are a little restrained. There's a sort of a slightly coffee-ish, slightly earthy note over a more sort of red fruit end of the spectrum there initially. There's certainly an intensity to those slightly savoury, earthy notes. But there is a freshness there, and perhaps with that, just a hint of cassis. So let's have a taste, shall we? The wine is showing some really fresh, elegant fruit. There really is a very mouth-watering nature to this. The aromas are much more youthful and primary. And yes, those hints of cassis that I thought I saw on the back of the nose are really displaying themselves on the mid-palate. The wine isn't perhaps quite as broad as the 2019. It's only labelled as 13% alcohol. And yes, this is a wine with fresh acidity. And yes, at the same time as the fruits opening up in my mouth, I'm getting some of those classic, slightly baked, slightly earthy notes of ripe plum to prune that are so typical of many of the wines of St Estephe. And those quite juicy, slightly cooked red fruit notes are leading on to show some sort of baking spices and hints of cedar on what is quite an open, juicy fruit finish. This is a wine I scored 92 out of 100. And I really do think that the wines of Laffitte Carcasset really do display some classic St Estephe style underpinning what is actually now showing as the sort of more modern winemaking of the more recent vintages. It's a really enjoyable wine that is accessible now, but we'll probably carry on drinking quite successfully for the next 10 years. So in light of that, I'd suggest this is really good value for money. So thank you so much for watching. I do hope you've enjoyed the tasting. If you have, do please press the like button. That would be fantastic. If you are watching these videos and you enjoy them, it would be great if you could subscribe. Your support would really help me develop the channel further. And if you have friends you think might like to watch as well, do please feel free to forward the videos to them. I'd really appreciate your endorsement in that way. If you have any comments or questions, please pop those in the comments box below. I'd love to know what you think about the wines I'm looking at or the tastings I'm doing. I'll leave a link to the winesearcher webpage for this vintage of this wine so you can see where it's available and what it costs. And so yes, thank you again for joining me. And I do hope that maybe sometime in the near future, you'll be able to join me again for another tasting. Till then, bye for now.